this kind of plays into the single most requested amendment to the Constitution by states, which is the Seventh Amendment. So
Really?
the seventh, yeah, that's who would have guessed? Would you think it's the First Amendment or the Second or the Third Amendment? But the most requested, most letters Madison got about wanting to change update the Constitution was the Seventh Amendment, which is your right to a jury in a civil trial.
Why was that?
Part of it was commerce. Civil trials are very, very important for holding of contract law, and there was a movement in a response after the Constitution was sent to different states that they were shocked to find that a trial by jury was mentioned in the U.S. Constitution itself, but only for criminal offenses, not for civil offenses.
Oh, is it the one that like it mentions a grand jury in it too, or something like that?
Yep. So
Yeah.
it mentions this. Well, grand juries are only for criminal cases. That's That's Amendment 6. So grand juries are used to stop prosecutions from just constantly bringing charges against somebody. So the idea of like it's funny, most people think a grand jury is the last jury. It's like, no, it's the first jury.
Right.
But the Seventh Amendment, it derives its or I should say its impetus for existence. It was heavily driven by something called the Sugar Act of 1764, in which custom officers used to accuse smugglers of, and we actually mentioned this a little bit in the Sixth Amendment, but in the Seventh Amendment, what drove it was the Sugar Act, and custom officials would accuse smugglers of smuggling stuff, even if they didn't,
Right.
and they would try them at admiralty court. Not on criminal offenses, but on civil offenses. And it's like, what does an admiral have to do with civil offenses?
That they just because he's smuggling, it's in the water. Admiral must have domain of that. We'll just give him the. That's probably why, right? Who has control of the seas? Yeah.
Like a commandant is usually associated with the Navy, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why, because commandants usually oversaw like trade hubs.
Okay.
But my favorite one, the primary driver of this was John Hancock, our boy.
Oh, the smuggler himself.
Yeah, the smuggler himself.
Okay.
He wrote many letters to the Constitution Convention supporting it.
Is this basically what established a civil sector of like the judicial system?
I would say it codified it. It gave it power. Yeah, established it. Because without power, it's not established. No, you're right, Kyle. This is what established it. Because before, again, a lot of people are shocked this wasn't included in the Constitution originally. This idea that you have a right to a jury in a civil trial. But this is what made it this process where it's not just magistrates sitting behind a desk decide all these cases. And instead, you have juries. You have the people deciding the cases. Jury's also just good to test public consensus on an issue.
Right.
And especially in a civil case where there's no criminal proceedings, it's an especially good way to kind of judge how people wish to have their commerce governed. But yes, it was the most requested change. I think that's a great trivia question. What was the most requested change to the Constitution? Who would ever guessed trial by jury for civil cases?